How long are you going to stay single, old maid?
These were the words spoken by my ex-husband, whom I hadn't seen in 15 years. 15 years ago, my ex-husband disappeared along with my sister. I had noticed that my sister and ex-husband got along well, but I never imagined they would become involved romantically. Since the day they both disappeared, I struggled to recover for a while. And suddenly, after 15 long years, my ex-husband and sister appeared before me. In response to my ex-husband's mocking remark, I presented him with a summary of the past 15 years. As I looked at their despairing faces while listening to my presentation, I couldn't help but laugh. It took a long time, but it was a moment when I could finally get back at both of them. My name is Layla, and I'm 43 years old. There is one thing I will never forget. I got married when I was 25 years old. My husband Joshua sat next to me in the first class I took after entering university. I still remember how Joshua, who came from a rural area, spoke to me in a dialect. Joshua was very cheerful and sociable. Despite my shyness, we quickly became close, and we started dating in the summer of our freshman year. Joshua was my first boyfriend ever. He was there in all the memories of my 4 years in university. We had many fights, but we never broke up, and our relationship continued even after we became working professionals. Joshua quickly became friends with his colleagues and superiors at work, and they would have office drinking socials almost every day. The company where I started working didn't have many office drinking parties or gatherings since it was a small company, and there were no colleagues my age. There was no overtime work, and it was a comfortable working place for me. But honestly, I often felt lonely. However, whenever I was troubled, Joshua would leave the drinking parties early and always come to see me without fail.
Don't worry, I'm here with you.
He would always say that to me, while giving off the scent of alcohol. I believe it was because of those moments that we were able to stay together for a long time. On my birthday, 7 years into our relationship, he proposed to me, and we decided to get married. Although we had been together for a long time, we had never lived together. So the idea of cohabitation was very fresh for us. We rented an apartment that was conveniently located between our workplaces. I had always lived with my parents, so diligently learned household chores from my mother. After getting married, Joshua would decline drinking parties and come home early to eat the meals I prepared.
I'm so glad I married you, Layla.
After finishing our meal, Joshua would always jokingly say that. The newlywed life, which felt like an extension of being lovers, was incredibly happy and fulfilling. Around that time, my younger sister Mia, who was 3 years younger and attending a university in the countryside, returned home for job hunting. My sister had a completely opposite personality to mine. She was outgoing, didn't shy away from meeting new people, and has been quite popular since our school days. As we attended the same high school, there were times when someone asked me multiple times to give her their contact information. My parents' house is walking distance from ours. My parents divorced when we were in junior high, so my mother and sister lived together. A few times a month, Joshua and I would have meals at my parents' house, and my mother and sister would often come to our place to hang out. Since Joshua also has an outgoing personality, he quickly became friends with my mother and sister. Around 2 years after we got married, my sister quit the company she had joined as a new graduate and started coming to our house whenever she had free time. Perhaps it was because she didn't want to constantly hear our mother nagging her to find a job while she stayed at the family home. She would come to our house around the time we finished work, have dinner with us, and sometimes leave at night. There were also times when she would stay for a few days, claiming to have had a fight with our mother. Joshua and my sister became closer day by day. Layla, this carrot isn't cooked properly.
I thought the same. Layla has some sloppy aspect to her. It's like she lacks attention to detail.
I know, it's been like that since we were kids. Like when she did all the homework during summer vacation but forgot to bring it.
That's a typical Layla story.
They would playfully tease me like that. While they seemed to enjoy it, I didn't feel very good about it. My sister remained unemployed, and we entered our 3rd year of marriage. Somewhere along the way, Joshua and I had transitioned from being lovers to something else.
Layla, you've gained weight recently. You used to be cuter.
Joshua unintentionally started making insensitive remarks towards me. During the early days of our marriage, I didn't think much of it because it was fully occupied. However, Joshua never did any household chores. He had an attitude that it was expected for me to take care of everything. I used to be willing to do anything for Joshua because I loved him so much, but now all I feel is dissatisfaction. And another source of dissatisfaction is that my sister and Joshua are getting along too well. It's a good thing for them to have a good relationship as siblings-in-law. But when my sister is at home, they often seem to have enjoyable conversations while I'm busy with household chores. Both of them have a closeness with people that might make others mistake them for a couple. They may not have any ill intentions, but I can't help but feel frustrated that if they have time to talk, they could at least lend a hand with the chores. One morning, as I was getting ready for work, Joshua was leisurely watching TV. "Aren't you getting ready? We'll be late," I said to him.
I took a day off today to go to an amusement park with Mia. Huh? Didn't I tell you?
He said with a faint, innocent expression. Of course, I haven't heard anything about it. What? What do you mean? I haven't heard anything about it. Just the two of you? Why not me? I confronted Joshua, feeling angry. It had been at least a year since he took a day off for a date with me.
Don't be mad. I will buy you a souvenir. Besides, we need to leave soon or we'll be late.
Joshua tried to appease my anger while I was upset, and he forcibly sent me off to work. I couldn't concentrate on my work all day. I had a lingering sense of unease. I don't mind my sister getting along with Joshua, but I couldn't understand why they would go out together, leaving me behind. I hurried home, but it seemed like they hadn't returned yet. Without feeling the motivation to prepare a meal, I silently waited alone. After a while, the two of them entered the house, engrossing in their lively conversation. "Layla, we're back. We bought you a souvenir." Mia happily handed me a keychain. "I don't need this. Why did you two go together? I don't understand," I said, refusing to accept the keychain.
Hey! Mia picked it out with great care. You poor thing, take it,
Joshua said. "I actually thought about inviting you, Layla, but you said you're not a big fan of amusement parks," my sister said, looking a little sad. "That's not the point. I don't understand why you two would go together." I raised my voice.
It's because you keep saying stuff like that you're not invited. Don't create a negative atmosphere.
For some reason, Joshua is upset with me. I felt that it was useless to continue talking, so I silently headed towards my bedroom. I couldn't forgive both the fact that they went out together and Joshua's defensive behavior. I think I cried for hours, but Joshua never came to the bedroom. Since I couldn't hear any voices from outside the room, my sister might have left. I greeted the morning without much sleep. and since it would be awkward to face Joshua, I left the house early for work. I'm angry with Joshua, but I can't keep fighting forever. When I get home, I will have a serious conversation with him about my sister and the future of our marriage. Today, I will make Joshua's favorite food and try to reconcile. That's what I decided in my heart as I returned home. However, I was in for a shock when I arrived home. On the dining table, there was a divorce form and a letter written by my husband. In his writing, the letter said,
Thank you for everything. From now on, I will live with Mir. Goodbye.
And in my sister's handwriting, I'm sorry, Layla. Please don't come looking for us. That's what was written in the letter. I dropped the grocery bag with the ingredients for dinner onto the floor. I couldn't understand the meaning, and I couldn't move from that spot for a while. Before I realized it, several hours had passed, I think. Then, I received a phone call from my mother. Layla, Mia called me with a strange phone call. Do you know anything about it? My mother seemed anxious as well. Just a while ago, she received a message from my sister saying that she won't be coming home for a while. When I explained the situation, my mother was at a loss for words. She immediately came to my house, worried about me. My mother embraced me as I cried. She stayed by my side throughout the night, as both she and I couldn't stop our tears. Both my mother and I took time off from work and tried to contact Joshua and my sister multiple times. No matter how many times we called, there was no answer. And on one occasion, our call was blocked. We even called Joshua's workplace, only to find out that he had resigned 2 days ago. The day before yesterday was the day Joshua and my sister went to the amusement park. They must have planned to run away together for a while now. After that, to be honest, I don't remember much. I couldn't go to work anymore and ended up resigning. If my mother hadn't been by my side, I don't know what would have become of me. It took a long time, but I managed to recover. I will never forget this day no matter how many years pass. Then, 15 years later, one day while having lunch with my mother at her house, the intercom rang. My mother went to the front door. Eh? She exclaimed loudly. So I hurriedly went to the front door, and there stood my sister and Joshua. Mom, Layla, long time no see. This house never changes no matter how many years pass, my carefree sister said in a cheerful tone. My mother used to tell me that we might never see them again. She was at a loss for words, with a mixture of surprise, anger, and the joy of finally seeing her daughter after a long time. It's not long time no see. You have the nerve to come back with such a nonchalant face, I said.
Oh, you haven't changed. Still getting angry as ever. How long are you going to remain a single old lady? Ha ha ha.
Joshua, who was standing beside her, said with a mocking expression. Huh? You don't know? Well, let me fill you in on the past 15 years. Ha ha. I replied with a smirk on my face. They seemed surprised to see me, unaffected by Joshua's words and appearing composed. I wasn't the weak person I used to be. I made them sit at the dining table. Well, for now, have a seat. Prepare yourself, because it's going to be a long story. Joshua and my sister sat in their chairs, as instructed, wearing a mixture of emotions. First of all, I'm not single. I have a husband who is much more wonderful than you, Joshua. As I began to speak.
Don't lie. You're living in your parents' house, so what are you talking about?
Joshua said. My husband is currently on a business trip abroad, so I'm just staying over. Would you like to see a photo as proof?
You can make up anything with that. Stop forcing it. It's pathetic.
Ignoring Joshua's words, I showed them a photo of my husband and said, "Isn't he handsome? His looks, personality, and income, you Joshua, don't stand a chance in any aspect. The husband I married 5 years ago is a business owner. His appearance is so well put together that he could pass as an actor, and he's a kind and caring person. Despite being busy with work, he willingly helps with household chores. On my days off, my happiest moments are when my husband makes a quick snack and we both stay home and have a drink."
Oh, so it's a story about how you tried so hard with marriage hunting for 15 years? Well, I also broke up with you, Layla, so I can be with Mia without any issues.
Joshua said. "Even if you boast about your happiness, we are happy too," my sister said. "How can you say that after doing such a terrible things 15 years ago? But that's not the only story I want to tell. I've only touched on the surface so far, you know." Saying that, the two of them looked slightly frustrated. "After you two left 15 years ago, I was so devastated that I couldn't work. I couldn't even eat or sleep." As I started talking, my mother next to me burst into tears. "I'm sorry. It reminded me of the Layla from that time." I pat my mother on the back. "Thanks to you, Mom. I managed to regain my strength somehow. It took time though. But from there, I found a new goal, to be much happier than both of you." At that moment, Joshua interrupted me once again.
All right, I got it. You worked hard in your quest for a happy marriage, didn't you? Since I'm feeling thirsty, how about some tea?
As he tried to stand up,
"Why do I have to serve you tea?"
my mother shouted, surprising Joshua into sitting back down silently. Well, after that, I started my own business. I studied a lot. And though it was a small company at first, it's now about to go public. I said that and placed my business card in front of them. Both of them remained silent. "Oh, I wonder if you can tell just by looking at the company name? Joshua, you got fired from your job, didn't you?" I said.
Huh? Why would you know about that?
Joshua appeared taken aback. "Well, because my company was the biggest client of the company you worked for. The CEO has been really good to me. He even listened to my stories of hardship."
What? So I got fired just like that? This is a joke. I worked hard for 15 years and even became a manager.
Joshua slammed his hand on the desk and got angry at me. "Oh, by the way, I've also spoken to the CEOs of other competing companies in your area, so it might be difficult for you to find another job," I said with a smile. "By the way, why did you come back today?" I asked, and Joshua and Mia blushed. "Joshua couldn't find a job. It's all because of you, Layla. You should compensate us for the living expenses."
I can't find a job because of you, so I came to borrow money.
He shamelessly spoke those embarrassing words. 15 years ago, after the two of them disappeared, my mother and I went to a private investigator to find their whereabouts. We quickly learned their new addresses and Joshua's new workplace. It was revealed that the house contract and job transition activities took place just before the two of them left. They must have been carefully timing their planned elopement for a while. Every time I learned a new fact, I felt despair and my health deteriorated. After discussing it with my mother, I decided to let go of the idea of meeting them or seeking compensation. I wanted to live my own life. As my health improved, I used the motivation to prove them wrong and worked hard. I studied a lot and started my own business. As I was fully immersed in managing my business, I found myself having less and less time to think about the two of them. I met my current husband at a cross-industry networking event, where I went to learn about business management. When the company started gaining momentum, we signed a contract with another company. It was a company that my subordinate had found, and the name seemed familiar to me. At that time, I didn't realize it was a company where Joshua worked. I had been feeling uneasy for a while, but one day, it suddenly dawned on me. When I went to introduce myself, I discovered that the person I was meeting was a female CEO similar in age. When I mentioned Joshua, she became furious. It turned out that she had conducted an investigation about him. It was revealed that he had subjected many female employees who rejected his advances to severe harassment. Due to his naturally friendly and likable demeanor, the executives had never noticed it. The president was at a loss for words. Rather, I was thanks for helping her realize it. Many employees were unable to speak up because he was in a department manager position. The number of employees who made accusations led to a major problem, and Joshua was fired. That president is quite resourceful and even spoke to other companies in the same industry that they are connected to. It seems she asked them not to hire Joshua. The president mentioned that since she has a wide network, rumors would spread quickly where the two of them lived. My sister hasn't worked since then and apparently has been a full-time housewife. I thought she might have financial difficulties, but I never expected her to rely on our parents' home. It might have been unexpected for her that I'm here too. There's no way I'm lending you any money. What a silly thing to say. If anything, I want to claim compensation. Why don't you figure it out on your own? I said.
It's all your fault,
Joshua said. No, it's not my fault. It's your fault, just like it was 15 years ago. I said. Mia, you are no longer my daughter. Take responsibility for your own actions. You are not to come to our house at all in the future. Upon hearing these words from my crying mother, the two of them hastily left the family home. After they left, my mother said, Finally, I feel relieved. Layla, you don't have to think about those people anymore. You have found happiness, but it seemed like something was bothering you all along. Now live your own life. After saying that, she embraced me. I felt like something that had been stuck in my chest was finally released. Hearing my mother's words, tears welled up in my eyes as well. Joshua's parents passed away early, and being an only child, he doesn't have any family. I've already shared everything with the company Joshua left 15 years ago, and all our mutual friends from college know about it too. There are hardly any friends left whom he can rely on. I don't know what will happen to the two of them from now on, but I don't think they can continue living the same happy life as before. On the other hand, I'm blissfully happy every day. My life with my husband and running the company is going smoothly. Soon, my mother will turn 65 and retire from the company she has worked at for many years. I'm planning to take her on a trip to Europe, where she has always wanted to go. When I told her about it, she was overjoyed like a child. Seeing the happy faces of my mother, husband, and employees around me brings me the greatest happiness. I want to continue cherishing the people around me and living my life.